Okay, this is gonna be a catch-up. Wait, what should I call this? In conversation. No, that's yours.
No, I don't. I think that's just everyone's. Catch up in conversation are
universal.
Yeah.
Okay. This is gonna be a catch-up with one of my very dear friends, Katie Dalebout. I love Katie. Katie has a podcast called Let It Out. Do you want to explain what Let It Out is? Or when did you start it also?
2013.
Nice.
Yeah. So it will be, it was 11 years this year. I keep saying it's been 10 years. I keep saying a decade because it just sounds good. But it will be 12 years this year, which is wild. It's about the same time that you've been doing YouTube.
Yeah, I say 10 years too, but I started my channel in end of 2011. It was like November 2011 I made it.
We've been doing this a long time.
Yeah,
we've been
I know.
Doing the same. I think that's something we talk about a lot is like having to evolve because the internet is different. We're different. Like our tastes and what we're into is different, but the medium has been the same, and the audience even is different, but it's probably like this. Like I'm sure you have this too. Like when people tell me that they've been listening since the beginning, I'm shocked because that means like they've liked 17 iterations of who I've been having conversations with and who I've been and what I've been asking. And I think with creators like that I follow, I sometimes, and I guess it's the same with any relationship. It's like I am really into their content and it just is feeling really cozy and like I don't have to think about it and I just turn to it and I want it. And then there are other times where I'm like, I'm going to take a break because I'm doing something else, or it reminds me of something, or it makes me, I don't know. And then I come back and I'm like, oh my God, I love this, So I think and I feel like it's okay if people do that with me, and they probably do. I know, I'm sure they do, or they don't come back.
Right, yeah. It's interesting because I feel like a lot of my people have grown up with me too. Like, I think when I first started my channel, it was around the same age I was. And now that bracket has, like, moved up with me.
Yeah.
So now the bracket is, like, 25 to 30, or I don't even know what the bracket is.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's, evolved with me, which is really, really cool.
Did you think about... I think this is so interesting, like, talking about longevity in this. I don't even want to call it our work, but, like, our... body of work, I guess, because there's an archive of both of us on the internet, like my voice from 12 years back, your image and voice. And we all have that, like whether you do YouTube or make a podcast, if you have social media, like we all have this public archive. And I think about a lot, like body image wise and beauty standards wise, like in the 90s, like our parents had maybe one photo or two photos of themselves a year, maybe, that you would like see, or maybe you would get a disposable camera back a couple times a year. But now we see our face so much more often. So that's like a whole nother issue, but I think that impacts us. And then the evolution of our work and the evolution of technology and the evolution of nostalgia, and it all feels like, okay, so my question that I was starting to say is like, did you ever think this far ahead? Like when you were starting your channel, like I wouldn't have even been able to conceive of like, when I'm 30, will I still be doing this? Would you still be like, what did you think you would be doing at this age?
Well, I've always been creative. Like I was always making things as a kid, like whether it was like drawing or painting or just making things out of beads, or just I was always making something. So the fact that I have my hands in like oh my God, I love video, Katie. I love it.
You're so good at it.
Thanks, Katie.
So this month really brought you back to that, showed you that.
I mean, okay, so every fall, and you guys, my audience knows this, every fall I do this thing where I like, well, for the past 4 years or whatever, I vlog every day for the month. Around like October, November. I don't know why it's that. I think this might be the 4th year or something.
Since we've been friends, like since we've been close, you've been doing it. Was it when you went to New York the first time?
No, that was like the second time or something like that.
I remember,
Wait, what was the question?
what, like, could you conceive of like when you were in your 30s still
No.
doing YouTube and what that would look like?
No, I also, I've never been the person to have like a 5-year plan or like, where do you think you'll be at like 20? I've never understood that. I act on like impulse. Like if I have a vision, I'm like, okay, I want to make this happen and see how I can make it come to life, whether that's video or ceramics or like, I don't know, little doodles, like little animations but for you,
Yeah, this goes back to copy and paste.
I had a big paste last night. That was my big paste.
Yeah. And I think what you're talking about right now is you're a quick creator. Like I wrote
so
about,
fast, yeah.
I wrote a Substack recently. The last one that I wrote, Maddie was my muse, based on something that she said to me that was a difference between, can I explain
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
Well, I feel like we need to like let them in on what I was saying with this inside terminology, but well, and you should actually like explain what you meant. But essentially, I'm a slower creator. Like I have a lot of, I really admire your ability to like think of an idea, execute, and that time being quicker. And even if it's a text that person or like that ping of intuition, like sometimes I'll do that, but rarely. More often I write it on a to-do list and then it might evaporate or eventually might do it. But by the time I do it, the idea is like not as strong or I don't know. I think that immediacy is really useful in capturing that. And of course you can't necessarily execute something and paste what you've copied immediately all the time if you have a responsibility or job or like whatever, but you have to remember it. But anyway, all of this to say, this summer I was in a period of having copied a lot and really needing to, a lot of drafts and needing to like have some
Yeah, like getting it out to the world and just sort of releasing it. Because I really feel that we're at a college, y'all.
And it is raining. We've been not saying.
It is pure chaos here. And there are like these crows that are going nuts.
This is a podcast, but outside.
Yeah. Podcast at the park.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. So
pasting what you copied.
I don't know.
So why did you say that to me?
Okay.
We were sitting around and we were just catching up, and I was like telling you how I was feeling, and I could just see her like, you know, when a friend is like reading you like a book and going to tell you something that only someone who's paying attention and cares and knows you. I could just see it was brewing, and it wasn't just me. You'd observed this with someone else very close to you as well, and then you were able to see a pattern and see that like we're very similar in a lot of ways. Our birthdays are 9 days apart. We're both Taurus. Like we have a lot of. One thing I love about you is you're very rational, and we can just level with each other, and we get along so well. Like my friendship is one of my favorite things ever, and we have so many similarities. We have a lot of differences, and this is one that we do not share this.
Yeah.
So I think you could see it.
It is, yeah, totally. Well, that's the fun thing too. I'm
Yeah.
seeing you from my perspective,
Yeah.
which is totally different.
Yeah.
So I'm able to like maybe help you like simplify things in a way that you wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Yeah, 100%. And I think maybe that is like my nonlinear thinking or ADHD of like around the back, through the legs, over the shoulder, and then I'm going to like still get there, but
Yeah.
you're going to just go straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
how I tell stories, how I
know, it's so
park.
great. So basically, whenever you're on the internet and you've copied something, I always know when it's like, I don't know what it is. It's like a feeling. It's like, I need to like paste it. Do you get that too?
Okay, here's an analogy. When you have to go to the bathroom, it feels like that, like a sensation.
It feels a little bit like that, yeah. But it's like,
It's called spade a spade.
It's like taking up brain space, and I'm like, I have to get this out.
Right. Like that's what I was trying to write about in the Substack of like, whatever you're holding on to, you have to manage because you might lose it and you might. This is why I don't lie, because lying is you have to then my grandma would always say a lie has no legs. It takes additional lies to support it. Like you're constantly having to remember your story and then like, oh, I told that, so it's just like, it's tiring, and it's the same thing with copying and pasting. Like, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but I want, Notes, like the Notes app on your phone. Like what's great, you can, I'm not sponsored by Apple products, but you can get it on your computer and your phone. It's very convenient, and maybe they've changed this, but when you Control Z on that, like with basically I had copied a bunch of, I cut a bunch of stuff, and then I hadn't pasted it, forgot about it. It was I had written an entire Substack that took me a long time, but I had done it kind of on my phone because I was on a plane and I didn't have internet, so I didn't do it in Google, whatever. It was ready to go. I had edited this text draft, and
a cut is serious.
I know. I try to not cut anymore for this purpose, but I like kind of went on. I got distracted. Maybe I got a phone call. I don't know. Unclear. And then next thing I know, I knew I did it too. I copied I right clicked on like a word to look up or something, and my heart stopped, and I was like, oh my God,
you're like, hold up,
this can't be happening. And I like very robotically go back to, I'm like, okay. I'm just like talking myself down. I'm like, I'm just going to Control Z. It's going to be fine. It's no problem. I'm just going to press a quick undo. And that feature like wasn't, maybe it is now. I feel like it maybe is, but well, there is no undo on your, and whatever. It could not get it back. I could not let that go. I called Apple.
Oh my God.
I was on the phone with a genius being like, can I go to iCloud? Like, is there any way to recover? Like, and they were like, maybe if you take your other phone off Wi-Fi, like do you have another device? Do you have an iPad? And I was like,
interesting.
And Christine has this old iPad of mine. So I think I like called, I never found it. And it probably wasn't that good. And it was like, but it's an analogy of like, it proves your point.
You got to paste. If you copy something, you got to paste it.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Or you have to manage it. Or you're like,
that's exactly right, Katie.
It causes a stress.
Yeah. Because it's living in the back of your brain, whether it's an idea or whatever.
Totally. Yeah. And when you release it, you no longer have to manage it. And this is like, remember when I did my workshop, which I want to do again in the new year, and you were a guest for. It was called Creative Underdogs, and then I renamed it to be In Process. And it was basically community around creativity. And I would have a guest once a month. Christine was a guest. Maddie was a guest when you were in New York, actually.
Yeah.
And all sorts of previous podcast guests were on it. And we never talked about the podcast, but we're talking about this other thing. But then once a month I would do, it was a theme, and I would do like I call them these Dharma talks sort of. And I would talk about like what I'm learning and the realm of creativity. And then we would have co-working time. So we would do 2 Pomodoros. Do you know what those are?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And in the middle, we would take a break and either I would like teach yoga, or I would do whatever, draw or whatever.
That's so nice.
Yeah, it was great. And I haven't done it in 2 years. The last time I did it, I think was when you were a guest. And I do want to do it again. But anyway, in that, I have this positive feedback loop that is my like way I think about creativity. And the first thing is to create space. Like you first have to, or not even creativity, like a project, just sort of my methodology for thinking about starting anything. And I'm curious like how this relates to your projects or making ceramics or a video or whatever. But first is create space. And I look at it as like a circle. So space is up here. And that means like decluttering your like physical space, like pasting what you need to copy, like getting rid of things, like clearing space in your brain and your copying, like in your cache or whatever. Clear the cookies. Restart the computer, take a shower. You know what I mean? Like really do some feng shui for that. And then the next thing, once you have that openness, then you can take in. So then the next part is gather. So like space, gather. So that's like taking in inspiration and experiences, and you have to go out and live a life worth writing about or making videos about, or drawing in inspiration and taking that in, making the Pinterest boards, like that's the best part, I think.
Yeah, that's the fun part, yeah.
Yep. And a lot of people get caught there, or don't make the space, and then
I don't make the space,
and then you have too much going on.
Yeah.
But I think you do paste,
right?
like,
Yeah,
so it's not like you're backed up on, like, I
That's
was really
true.
bad. I was creatively constipated on projects, and I don't even remember exactly what it was, but like I had the zine brewing, I had like 18 drafts on my Instagram, and I like, and this is the other thing I think about pasting, like the longer you sit with a draft, for me, especially like with Substack too.
then it doesn't resonate. Is that what you're gonna say?
No.
Oh, What were you
Say
gonna
that, and then I'll tell you.
I feel like this is just my experience or how I feel, but like if I don't pace soon, it doesn't resonate anymore.
Oh, yeah, I kind
For
of am
me
gonna say the same
or
thing.
other people. It just doesn't feel like if it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think, okay, here's the thing. I've been in denial about that. I'm just having like a watershed moment as you're saying that, because I think I hold on to things, people, places. I'm very nostalgic. I'm not this way with stuff. Like I give away stuff so much I have to like rebuy it, you know?
Yeah.
But with other emotional things like that, and there's a grief to having to, and I touched on this in that thing that I wrote, there's a grief having to let go of something, but I think you have to either shit or get off the pot, you know, like you either have to, like you said, get it out or it doesn't resonate with it. And I think I've been in denial where I'm like, but I want to do it, and I said I was going to do it, and I'm very loyal, I'm very follow through and wanting to be loyal to myself.
Cozy
But
Taurus.
It's better to just let it go and trust, and then it becomes self-trust that a new, more resonant idea will come in.
Of course, always.
And then you're actually blocking one to come in if you're clenching and holding on to something from the past. And I think I'm cured. I think if I can do that, I think I felt really stagnant these last 2 years. I've had like a lot less output than the entire time I lived in New York, my entire 20s. Like I think I've been holding on to ideas that just, for whatever reason, I didn't pace quick enough, and they've lost their luster.
Have they though, or do you think you could still make something with?
I thought I could, but I think I need to let some go.
Kill your darlings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
It's hard.
Yeah. And then, you know, I can, if I need to resurrect them, I can in a different way. But I think there's like some darlings that need to be killed. But I also think, I mean, that was like what the zine really was. That's why you asked that question at the zine launch, and I brought up the copy and pasting analogy there, because I wrote this zine while I broke my leg this summer, and I was in a cast and couldn't walk for months, and so I made this zine while I was in the cast. And I had this little launch party, and Maddie asked this question about it. And that's a really good, that like, it brings us back to like what I was going to say about, wasn't that about a draft? Like when you take too long with something, what I was going to say is that like, I just tinker with it more. Like the longer I take with it, and this is definitely what I was doing with the zine, because the zine was a very big pasting for me. And it felt like I could kind of take all of these things I had written in the past and release it, so then I could move on, you know, and then I could have new ideas come in. But all of that to say, I really think that and that was the case with that, where the more time that passes, the more I'm apt to like, oh, that word could go over here. It's kind of like when you're getting ready to go. Sometimes I'm like, if I have more time, if my outfit ends up being better if I need to leave quickly, because I just like throw the first thing on, and I kind of like, I'm like, all right, it looks effortless and cool. But if I have more time, like everything I'm doing to myself is like making it worse somehow.
Right. That is so weird.
And I feel like that with writing for sure. And maybe like with it, like sometimes I change it back to how it was and then back again, because I'm like going, so I'm too close. I just need to like press send, you know? Do you feel like that?
I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying. It's like, how do you know when something's finished?
Right.
Maybe I don't really have that.
I think this is where because I think you press publish.
I'm just like, go, get it out, done.
Yeah, maybe we're both saying the same thing.
Move on to the next thing.
Because
I don't really tinker, but you can't really do that with, well, I guess you could.
Yeah.
I mean, you could spend forever on any project.
Totally. you could definitely do that for ceramics. Definitely do that for video, just as much as writing, if not more.
Do you
So
ever
it
give
shows.
yourself deadlines?
Yes, but this is something I've learned about myself recently. And it's also been, if I can stick to these things I've learned here of like idea to release quicker, and this, which is deadlines that I make for myself don't work.
Oh, I know. Me too. Same.
Because I'm just like, it's kind of like getting up in the morning. Like if I know I have a meeting at 10 and I have nothing to do before that, even though I would prefer to get up at 6 or 7 and have a leisurely morning, if I'm so tired, I'm going to sleep till 8 or 9 or whatever.
Right.
And it's the same thing with deadlines. But the zine is a good example. I had this party that I had to do that Maddie made the poster for. We were doing, people were coming. No matter what, they had to be printed by then. And it was such a long lead time that I truly thought, I was like, oh, it's going to be done. It was on September 27th. And I thought for sure that I would have had that sucker printed, ready to go at the end of August, because I was done writing it in July. And Maddie, when was I picking up those from the printer?
Yeah, like right before.
That's correct.
But it's so funny.
But it got done by that because I had this outside deadline.
Exactly, yeah. It's so weird because I do the exact same thing. I wait until the last minute.
Yeah, and I think because we're like our brains are smart. It's like, well, you don't have to, like, even though we know it's.
I know. I don't know how to like slowly chip away at a project. I'm like, it's all or nothing.
Me too.
I'm staying up 24 hours.
I know.
I'm not well, shit. Sometimes I forget to eat.
We all do.
When I'm working on a project. I forget to clean the apartment. I forget about I'm like, in the zone.
Balance is really challenging.
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's a myth. I mean, I don't think when I'm doing really well with my relationships, my work is suffering. When I'm doing and that's just something I've noticed about living in LA. Like, so much here is like, I guess we're technically working right now, but we're just hanging out. But in New York, I would be on my computer so much more than I am here, because here people hang out a lot more during the day because our jobs are, many people have flexible jobs or like more on-call jobs where they can, are waiting to film something or whatever. And so people can hang out during the day. And so you have to create your own boundaries, I guess.
Your own schedule. And yeah, I feel like I haven't figured that out yet. And I've been here for like almost 10 years.
Yeah. And I couldn't tell. I was like, is it a post-COVID thing? Is it a me and getting older thing? Is it not having a full-time job when I did before? Is it my friends here? Is it LA? And I don't know. It might be all of those things, but I do see that as, I don't know.
It's like, I don't know. I mean, having a job would give you structure, but when it's you working for yourself, it's flexible. So there's so much freedom, but it's like a blessing and a curse because it's like, it's so much to manage and balance. Like, yeah.
When I worked this full-time job for 6 years, and during that time, I wrote my book. I started this podcast.
Yeah.
I went on a book tour.
Right.
I did everything I'm doing now. And now I do so much less. And as far as computer work time, like I kind of had to be near my computer from 9 to 6, Monday through Friday. And I worked from home, which was like a huge part of why this was the case. But I think because of that, I was very respectful of that job, and I didn't bite the hand that feeds me. Like I would get it done, but I could get done pretty quickly, especially once I was really comfortable with it. And so I would give that like 80%, and then the 20%, and probably flipped. It was probably more like 80% to my stuff and 20% to that. But I had to be, I couldn't, one thing that job, and it was so annoying at the time, but I couldn't leave and go on a 3-hour walk. I couldn't go to a exercise class. I couldn't like go hang out with a friend, but now I can. So I do.
Yeah, exactly.
And there'll be weeks where I don't open my computer.
Yeah, that's actually really nice.
I think I'm there's all the like chronically online girl. I think I'm chronically offline. And
that's such a flex, Katie.
Well, okay, so 2 days ago I was at Monica's birthday party, and we were about to play Salad Bowl, that game that I love.
Wait, what is it?
Oh, it's really fun. I'm sure everyone here knows about
Everyone.
it. But I feel like we've played it. Anyway, you write down nouns. Like you write down 3 nouns. Everyone playing write down nouns and you put them in a bowl. And it's basically catchphrase, charades, and something else combined. And so it's like the first round you look at the word and you have it's catchphrase basically. You have to just like say words to describe it. And then the second time is charades. And then the one other thing is I forget. It's like you can only use one word to get it.
Oh.
And it's super fun.
I've never done it.
Oh, funny. Okay, well, we need to play
Yeah.
soon. It's super fun. But anyway, so we were writing that. We ended up not playing, but we wrote down the nouns to put in. And then Lauren was like, do you want to just see what mine... I want to just tell you guys what mine were. And so one of them was... I don't even know what it is, but I felt like I was truly a boomer or like a geriatric person because I had no idea. And I don't know. I still don't have TikTok downloaded on my phone.
That's good.
And it's like this hippo that I don't even want to say it because I now not quite a hippo.
Is it a meme?
It's a meme. She's everywhere. She's very like...
Oh, the hippo is biting at someone's ankles or something?
No, she's like very slippery. It's not a hippo, actually.
Slippery?
It's like, that's not even the animal that it is. See, this is why like everyone here is like screaming it.
Really?
Yeah. You probably know it.
I don't think I do.
Well, anyway. Well,
We're both...
the comments are just going with it, right? As we speak right now. We'll see in a few days.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring it up, because I was like, I do want to, in the same way I don't like, this, like I don't like watching TV alone. So I just don't really do it. And I like doing this thing that everyone's doing at the same time. Is nice sometimes when you share the same references and it's not like I want to quote movies all the time, but to be like, oh, this is just like and I feel like all of my references for that are like a decade old and I need to, or like really obscure and strange. And so I want to be where the people are.
Right. Yeah. I get that too. But I just also feel like I'm totally in my own lane too. I'm like, I've got like blinders on in a way. And I feel like you do too, like you're doing your own thing with Let It Out and everything else.
Yeah.
It feels good.
Thanks.
I mean, what are you excited about with Let It Out coming up?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. You know what it is? I really need to figure out the answer to that question. And I need the opposite of what we're talking about LA and doing things and being out. And I need to spend time alone and sit and journal and figure out what that next thing is, because it needs to evolve. Like that's the biggest thing. And I don't know exactly what that means yet. I think it's this new project that I kind of mentioned at the launch of the zine, which is something related to talking, something related to conversation, something related to
maybe like IRL things. Like
I really want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like your workshop.
Yeah.
Your workbook, right? But you could do a workshop.
Yeah.
it?
I want to turn Pivot into, because I made Pivot these essays. It's 12 or 11 essays. I cut one from my 20s, and it had journaling prompts because my book Let It Out is about journaling and has journaling prompts. And so I said this at that event, but basically when I was putting it together, I was like, all my friends here are so cool and artistic and write these personal essays. Like, I don't want to do this self-help thing. I kind of came up in self-help and worked with a famous self-help author, and I find that's really useful and like I'm into it, but I'm in sort of a turn my book around the other way on the shelf way.
What?
Christine taught me that.
What?
To turn your like books you're embarrassed that you have, turn around the other way so you don't see the spine.
Oh my God. Wait, doesn't she put like a tape over it or like a
No, she just turns
note?
it around so then the pages are front. Most of my books are that way.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay.
It makes them hard to find. Anyway, all of that to say, I said this there, but how I took the prompts out and then I was like, gosh, I feel like now I'm at a place where all my friends and everyone would be kind of into it. And the more self-reflective or kind of self-helpy, how to get to know yourself more and become more self-aware. And so I need to use those tools myself. And so I'm going to turn Pivot into a workbook. But this was a project that, I don't know, I started doing and then I was like stuck on.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because you haven't talked about it in a while, actually.
Yeah. What do you do when you get to that point?
When I get stuck?
Yeah. Do you just call it or do you?
No, I never call it.
But what if, like what you were saying before, when too much time passes and then you suddenly don't feel as connected to it, the momentum's sort of gone. You still make yourself.
I don't
push
even
through
let
it.
it get to that point.
Yeah. See,
I'm like, no, kill your darlings here. We're getting it out because it's like it's so nice having like a marker of where I was at that point in my life, what I was thinking about, what my mindset was, and so I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to. Well, the reason I was stuck. This is boring, but the reason I was stuck on that project wasn't so much the content that came very quickly and just it was where I'm going to put it, how I'm going to release it. Am I printing it? Is it going to be an online? It was that stuff. So
have you talked about it with anyone?
That's what I need. I need to talk it out with someone.
Yeah, sometimes you need like a springboard, or is that what it's called?
Yes, I'm too close to it too. Someone
exactly.
Who's distance from it.
Exactly.
Can we do that after this?
Yeah, let's revive it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's all I need. And Crystal was doing it with me and then she couldn't anymore. And so that's all I need is like 5 minutes with a friend to just be like,
yeah,
this is what I'm thinking. What are the logistics of that? And have someone because I think I get stuck on that kind of thing where it's like, I don't know how to do the technology of this. So I'm just going to stop.
Right. I get that too. That's really frustrating.
Yeah, but it's often a lot easier than it.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
is. I just made it out to be more of a big deal than it needs to be.
Yeah, I think that's like what's that called?
A block.
Well, like a soundboard. Oh, soundboard.
Board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. But I'm excited to. I don't know. I love doing interviews. I love doing the podcast. I think I need to figure out. I'm just in a place of it not really. Dexter asked this at the party, and I was like, I don't know what's next. What do you think? I'm really. I need to sit with myself and like let that next idea come. I'll feel free to let me know what you think I should do. I'm taking requests, but I think it'll. I'm hoping. We hope that next year there's sort of some because I've felt sort of stagnant these last couple of years, and I'm hoping that something sticks in a way that I can.
Yeah, like a newfound momentum, or yeah. I'm really excited. I mean, I can't believe this year is almost over with.
I know. I feel like I'm just warming up to the new year.
I know, it's so crazy.
We did one of these. Last year, Maddie's been on my podcast a couple of times, but it was right after Christmas last year,
yes,
I think.
Yeah.
Or right before. Anyway, when Maddie came on the podcast, and that does not feel that long ago.
No, it doesn't. Well, I don't know. It's so weird. Yeah, it was like almost a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. But I'm excited to see like what happens next year and like what sort of things we get up to.
Me too. What are you excited about?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just excited to see what comes up or what projects come up. And like this year, I feel like so much has happened. Like I had my art show in January. And then what else happened? Oh my God. And then I was working with Levi's.
Yeah. Wait, didn't you have something in February? Or was that your art show?
Yeah.
That was February.
I was working with Levi's Mubi at the beginning of the year, so that was kind of all a surprise. I didn't know any of that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Summer, I was making all these music videos and working for brands, and then now we're
taking
here.
Me to the doctor and my cast.
Taking Katie to the doctor.
And then it was so sweet. She asked me to just be there for the ceramics filming thing, and I was like, yeah, for sure, but you have to come pick me up. Because I couldn't drive. And then she was like, well, maybe we can just do it at your apartment. So we filmed those videos at my apartment.
Yeah, that was so fun.
We saw Abraham in
my
January.
God. We saw Abraham Hicks at the top of the year. That was like January 13th.
Yeah.
That was, oh my God, that was so fun.
That was so fun. I don't think I realized how, I'm like nostalgic for it now.
Yeah, I know.
And when it was over, we were trying to get out of this parking garage for a long time.
a while.
And we were both kind of like, that was cool, but like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we were kind of just like, it had been a long day, I think. And we were just like, hadn't really processed it. And it wasn't even like about the event I think it was about, for me, at least, I'll speak for myself, like that day, like going to it with you, like you giving me the Trader Joe's seltzer in the car, us going in, like we took a goofy photo in front of the thing. We just like committed to the bit, like where we sat, like we both took notes so differently, wrote down completely different things.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. And then we went on the way home, but then we kind of just needed to like shake it off after, like we didn't want to just like sit in the parking structure talking about it. I think we just like, we like talked about other things and wanted to go like come back to earth a little bit and be people. And we went on the way home, we stopped at this, what was it? Like a Hawaiian?
Oh, it was Hawaiian grocery store. It's so fun.
It was so fun. And we walked around there for a long, I was very cold because I was wearing a skirt. And we walked around there and I love days like that are so visceral in memory. And I can tell you, I remember going on a hike that morning and what I was listening to and what I wore and when you picked me up and all of those. I had like an extra outfit that could have been any day, a separate outfit just in case, you know, I always bring like 17 outfits. But I just have been thinking so much about memory and dying and like how temporary this all is this year. Like I lost people and the temporariness of relationships and how relationships just change. And I hadn't experienced that as intensely or as much ever before.
Oh, as this year?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think so. I mean, I've experienced it, but yeah, I don't know. I'll say that.
I mean, yeah, you have had kind of a crazy year.
Yeah. And then just like when I turned 30, for instance, I didn't suddenly feel like a different decade or that. I was like, oh, I'm like basically still in my 20s, like 30's a new 20. You know what I mean? Like a lot of my friends were younger than me. Some of my friends are older than me, but I had just moved here. It was also April of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel any different. And then this year I was like, oh, I very much feel my age. And just noticing like the double standard and noticing it with dating and noticing it with, I don't know. And then losing people and people moving and people having babies and people, just all of it, just the flux of everything. I think it made me really aware of memory and like how meaningful, how just interesting. Like I can think of that day and remember all those beats I told you, but there's like 30 other days in January that I have kind of no idea what I did. And that's like special to me for some reason.
Yeah.
Is that silly?
No. I mean, we got to see Abraham Hicks. That's so cool.
I'm really glad we went. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like at the beginning of the year. And I think it was a really good way to start off the year.
Yeah.
It was really special.
I feel like we don't necessarily have to go to Abraham again this year. I feel like maybe we will another year. Because I also sent you a voice text like months ago being like, I think we should go again. Because I was like feeling nostalgic for it. But I actually don't think that, because sometimes I think if I do the same thing, something that was really, really great, and then we do the exact same thing at the exact same place, then you're just going to compare it, and so you can't capture lightning in a bottle twice.
Yeah, totally.
I'm worried like this year, I had an incredible Thanksgiving last year. My friend Gabby hosted, and it was just like so fun and funny and lovely, and she's doing it again this year, and I'm kind of like, is it going to be as good? Like, because we're going to be in the same place.
Well, what's fun about that is now it's tradition, and now everyone has their special thing, and you know.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I also think, yeah, but we either way, with going back to the Abraham thing, so we don't compare it. If we didn't go this year, we should do something that's like that level of,
to like start. I think it's a good way to start off the new year.
Yeah,
we should. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Maybe we will go. But the point is, like, if we don't do that, we should do something that is like a memorable like field trip with each other, where we
or
go to something. but
Well, I don't know, something special.
totally, yeah, or just like what was cool about that was that it was a self-reflective. Remember, I wanted to get in the hot seat.
Yeah, I was like, Katie, right here.
I just remembered that. I really wanted to get in the hot seat.
I know. She didn't even look at our side.
I know. Oh, and then we got a little bit upset because it was all dudes except
and like one lady.
Yeah.
But they were taking up so much. They kept asking questions. I'm like,
yeah, I forgot
so
about
like
that.
3 people got up, and I'm like, wow, what in the world?
I think I had a pretty good question too.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Yeah, next time, we'll see.
Should we end it soon?
I'm having an excellent time.
I know,
I could
so
stay
am
here
I.
all day.
I know.
What else do you want to talk about?
Well, I don't know. Should we talk about more podcasting stuff or personal life stuff?
All the above.
Yeah, I know. It is nice.
I'm loving this. Are you guys having fun? Thank you for coming.
So what do you have planned for next year? Is it just a big surprise?
I haven't had anything planned in
That's
years.
awesome.
No, I think it would actually probably be good for my work and my life if I had a bit more.
to have like some sort of.
Well, I'll say this now, so then all of you can hold me accountable to it. I think I perhaps could do seasons, or I could do themes, and I think that would really, because podcasting has changed so much, and there's just so many more people doing it, and I've been doing it in the same way, which is just like swinging at the balls coming at me of interviewing friends or people I mean, that's what I'm so grateful for about having this, is like I can reach out to someone that I admire. Like this year, I got to interview one of my favorite authors, and I would have probably never gotten to speak to her, much less speak to her for 2.5 hours and ask her whatever I wanted to know about this book that I really love and how she did it. Like, and that's all just because I have this thing in my hand and I share it, and I've gotten to do that for 10 years. And like, that's so cool. And I almost feel like I'm losing that ability a little bit, just as so many more people have that ability. Like, it's kind of an eye roll of like, will you do my podcast? Is like the will you take me to the airport,
Not at all. I feel like it's so cool to see like the what's the word? The whole like spread of people.
Spectrum.
Spectrum.
It's broad.
Like, it's so cool. And like your background with like, I mean, you haven't interviewed it, but you've seen like Ram Dass. Like, you just have so many little nuggets, and then the people you bring into your world, it's like so special and so specific. And you're such a good interviewer.
So nice.
I don't know how, it's like such a skill that I mean, what does it take to be a good, or what is a good interviewer?
Well, I used to, and I still do. I have this workshop that helps people start podcasts, and I would talk about this a lot because this is the part of the podcast that I like the most, like the microphone, the editing, the tech. I like editing more now, but all of that doesn't come as naturally for me. And I really like talking about interviews, and I like this question essentially. And so I made the interview kit where I like broke it down. It was so nice to like think about my process around this. And I think it's about like having a Goldilocks of preparation and sitting with knowing the person's work helps a lot. And then also spontaneity. Like, and the reason I figured that out is because I've done like 500 of these or more. And you know this, like I've said it to you, if you're like, oh, how'd the interview go? Like, oh, wasn't a good one today. And it doesn't even matter like what someone else hears. Like if it's a bad interview, I can like fix it in editing. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. There's one next week, And you feel that way about videos too. Like it just is what it is. I guess I'm really good with pasting with that. When some just go really, really well and smoothly, and you're like, nailed it, knocked it out. Not that I'm like patting myself on the back, but it just like
yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like as you're probably interviewing or recording, you're probably catching the good bits. You're like, oh, this is going to be so good, right?
Yeah, or it's just about being really present.
Yes.
I think that's if I can offer, I mean, honestly, like that's the biggest creative hack. That's the biggest, like, I don't believe in hacks, but like in everything. If you can just really be there and not be like thinking of something else or not being, and it's not easy because it's nervous system regulation. It's like when you're feeling self-conscious, you're not present. So and you can't control sometimes when you feel self-conscious. So it's really wanting that, I think, wanting to, and it's really hard to feel non-self-conscious and comfortable. Like when I was interviewing that author I love so much, I was definitely not present for most of it because I had brief moments of it where I would like come back, but I was like looking at my notes. I was over prepared. And that's the other thing I wanted to say. Like, it's best when I'm kind of Goldilocks of like, I have some notes, but I don't have too many. I don't have too many questions. And I'm fine if they go. And I'm familiar with their work, but I'm not a super fan of their work because I've noticed that, and I'm not completely, this never happens for me, but I'm not completely unprepared. Although honestly, like that probably would be good. Like, I think that wouldn't be a bad idea for me to just sit down with someone and have either a very vague understanding of what they do or none at all, because then I would have really good questions and I would be on the same page as the people listening.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what like some of my favorite podcasts do. And they don't even talk about the work. They just talk to someone and they like shoot the shit about what they ate that day and what they're doing later. And anyway, I love that. I like the things that I like to listen to are where I feel like I understand the host so well, where I can turn it on and I know what I'm getting into. I'm not surprised. And it's almost like, I guess this goes back to the Taurus thing of like loyalty and consistency.
Yeah.
Like my favorite podcast, they do it 3 times a week. I listen every time. I feel like they're my friends parasocially, and I turn it on. I kind of know what it's going to be. They say stories that I've heard before, and I like that. I know their mannerisms. I know the things that they talk about. I like to know the references, and they're like mutual friends, and I feel like I'm part of something. And it's like when I live by myself, I want to have people talking, but I don't want to necessarily call a friend. I just want to feel like I'm there with someone, or I want to have company, you know? And that's what I think Let It Out can do for other people, or when people tell me that makes me feel good of like I accompanied someone on a walk or a drive, or while they were, reorganizing their closet. And not every moment is going to be potent with a watershed moment of learning something or unlocking like an idea of like, oh, maybe that makes me think of this, and like that's going to help me in my life in this way, in a self-helpy way, or even like learning a skill or creatively or whatever. It might be in there, but you're going to get a bunch of other like, not fluff, I guess, but it's just company. It's just people talking. Whenever you're a little bit too attached to something, whenever I think about that. Whenever I'm a little bit, this has to happen. It's very good in relationships. It's very good in, it's just not attachment. It's letting go of the outcome.